sure to tune in. Do not miss it. All right, our first guest this morning is Tajuana Davis. Tajuana has been with us before. She is a local, well, I'm going to let her tell you her title. Good morning, Tajuana.
Good morning. Good to be back again.
You're not on the mic that I turned on. Just give me a second here. It's been one of those mornings. It's Monday.
It has been for me.
It is. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I understand.
I was like, Tajuana, are you coming? You're like, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. So good morning.
Good morning again.
Thank you for pushing through and coming in and joining us this morning. And now tell us about yourself. What?
Okay, sure. All right. I am a Christian family advocate. And I have been doing, we call it Living Hope Ministries. It also has a long title. You had referred to my book as having such a long title. We're notorious for doing that, I guess. But we started, actually, I think 16 years ago, there was a core group of 7 that began seeing the need for family advocacy in our community. It started in, I think, 5 surrounding communities. And we met for 2 years solid, praying together and doing some research and talking to different organizations or just different places such as the hospital, such as the health department, and officials to see what their take was on a need for our services. And so when we started, so like I said, we met for 2 years solid, praying over this, coming up with a name, and getting our 501c3 status through the state. And when we started, it was intended to be a full-fledged crisis pregnancy center. We tried to make it that. We thought that's what it was going to be. And God had other plans, which I find that out about every other week or more often probably. So we had no money to start with, and we actually were able to make a contact to a organization in Arizona, and we knew they worked with crisis pregnancies and parenting, which we decided that we're not supposed to be a full-fledged crisis pregnancy center where the ladies walk in and are able to do the drug test and have those kinds of services, which Alpha Alternative had trained us to do, and Alpha Alternative's out of Hopkinsville. So instead we said, okay, we can either do nothing or we can do something. So we decided we're going to move forward with this, and we're just going to see what it becomes. And we were able, like I said, to contact, so to backtrack again, the place in Arizona, and they said, we will start you off with a donation, gave us materials. The place in Hopkinsville who trained us, Alpha Alternative, who is a crisis pregnancy center, they told us how impressed they were with that. They had been in existence for 13 years and still didn't have all those materials because of the expense. So throughout the time, we began raising some money through the baby bottle campaign and speaking at churches and raised enough money to complete the series that they gave us for parenting and pregnancy. Within a couple of years, we began getting contacts from the court systems, from our DCBS staff here locally, and asking, can you do, for instance, do you work with those who are going through the court system? We want to do referrals to you. So we began taking referrals from the court system and from DCBS, the Department of Community-Based Services. And within a few years after that, we were getting more phone calls asking, do you work with those in domestic violence? Do you work with those in anger, with severe anger issues? Do you work with those in addictions? And we want to make those referrals to you as well. So in the beginning stages, we were doing those primarily referrals from the local departments, the officials, the court systems, DCBS. Lawyers began referring to us and other officials. But counties started finding us, other counties, and through the court systems rather, and because they said, we have nobody in our area that does this, and we want to start referring to you. So we just began taking the steps that God was guiding us through that we never had any plans of doing. And I believe it was in 2010 is when we began working as well with individual needs, so self-referrals as we call them. And so that has grown tremendously now. I get many phone calls from families. Marriage and family issues is another area that we've added to our services. So we're doing a variety of services. We are working with a variety of counties. We have some that have contacted us from out of state, again saying we don't know anyone in our area that does it. We will refer them to you. We've started doing some Skype and phone counseling when there's a need. We prefer to see them in person. There's a lot of value in that. So that's where we are now. I also do public speaking. I actually have a girls' conference coming up this weekend, a local conference at Eddyville First Baptist Church. So I want to put a plug into that on the 23rd. Starts at 9:30, ends at 3:30. There's me as well as a couple other speakers that's going to be doing that. I have another conference coming up in May in Eastern Kentucky. We just go where we're led. Me and my husband have been invited to do a marriage conference in Africa and Uganda, which we're scheduled to do, we think, in January of next year. So it's just been amazing to us to see where this has turned to just through being, and I don't hesitate to say this, just through being obedient to God's calling and saying, well, this isn't what we thought it was going to be, and we're just going to give up. That's a little piece of what we do.
Okay. That's more than just a little, it sounded like. There sounds like there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on, but it's great.
Okay. And so you said that you take self-referrals. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about that. What would I call for? What would I say or do? What would you offer for me if I just, if I felt like I needed some counseling?
Okay. All right. So our services, I gave you a little idea of what our services are, and primarily if someone is needing services for their addiction. We also have a component with Living Hope Ministries. I think I started with our long name, and then we changed it now to Living Hope Christian Coaching and Counseling. But and Living Hope Ministries is what we go by primarily. We are incorporated. And so we have another component of a support group for families who are whose loved ones have substance abuse issues. And so the families, we've realized, needs a tremendous amount of support. Those in the substance abuse have places they can go to, and it's becoming more common and local with Celebrate Recoveries, with Overcomers meetings, of course NAAA, and other places such as that. Churches offer things. And then we offer the services for those in addictions as well. I am a certified Christian recovery coach, and I do work with those in addiction myself. But our support group, Linda Morgan and Gloria Stevens, who are running that area, they work with families of the loved ones who are going through addictions and give them resources, let them meet with them, prayer support, or just to be able to vent. Now, on the other side of that, I'm going to meet with those who are needing resources to get a better grasp of their addiction, hopefully turn that around completely, so they can come to me and I do services with them as long as they need it. Or if it's very critical and they're in imminent danger, then I'm going to refer them to some resources that we have firsthand knowledge of. We've visited, we've toured, we know them, that sort of a thing. We don't just send them out, here's a place you can go to. That's the addiction. Of course, like I said, we do a lot of marriage and family. It seems like that's growing tremendously in our services. It's always been in existence, but we find as time goes by, individuals and families have gained the awareness of being more transparent and saying, I need help. I don't know if many grew up like I did. I suspect they did, and I learned that through those that come to me, that we weren't supposed to need help. And so therefore we fall through the cracks, which I've shared a little bit about. I have a history of some destructiveness in our home as I was growing up, and so it's okay to get help. it's biblical to get help. I'll go ahead and add to that. Biblical to get help. So there's a lot of things that people can call us about. I work with right now from another county, a mother, a father, and their teenage daughter, all three separately because of their needs. And eventually our hopes is that we can pull them together and work on those needs to try to build the relationships back again, then work with the mother and the father in a series we have. It's called Love and Respect, and it's a tremendous series for relationships. So yeah, there's a lot of components that we can add to so many areas of needs.
How do you mentioned, a lot of us grew up in the, you don't need to be getting help mindset. How do you get past it? I mean, and I would call it a stigma. How do you get past that stigma? How do you, as an organization and a group, help people realize, it's okay to need help?
I think the first step is letting them know. Of course, usually it's a phone call, my first time to talk with them through a phone call, and letting them know immediately that they can trust me. I mean, I can't just tell them the words, so I don't mean you can trust me, come to me. It's that they hear it in my voice. They know we are sincere, that we're not judging them, and we won't. But we also speak truth in love, and that's because we care so much about what they're going through and about the work that we do, the services that we provide. So I believe it starts with building trust first. And many times, and I understand this personally from a personal view, but many times someone's going to call and they'll either say, well, I'm going to think about it, I'm not sure this is what I need to do, or else you can just hear it in their voice, they're very reluctant. And so I will always encourage them, why don't you just meet with me and give it a try. You called, so there's a reason for it. There's something that apparently that needs to change. If you want to give it a try, there's no obligations. There's no ties to me. We'll try it. If it doesn't work out for you, then I wish you well, and maybe you find out you don't need it. Now, that's one area. So for those that are self-referred, I want to add to it, though, that more often than not, I'm going to say that, more often than not, the individuals who are referred to us, who's mandated by the courts, they don't want to come. We understand that, and I tell them I don't blame you. If I was in your shoes, I wouldn't want to be here either. But since you're here, let's do everything we can to give you the tools to move past whatever issues it is, whatever they were referred for, it is that brought you here. And my goal is to help you gain something. More often than not, by the third or fourth session, and generally it's 10 sessions that we require, sometimes 15, depending on what it is, for them to go through the services in order to get a completion of certificate. A certificate of completion. It is early. And more often than not, by the third or fourth session, they are saying, I'm so glad I came. I wasn't planning on getting anything out of this. This was exactly what I needed. Sometimes near the end of their services, when they know there's one or two left, we've heard them say, can we just keep on coming? And because we're so, our approach is so unevasive. We want them to trust that this is for them. This isn't for me. We don't carry around this attitude of, look what I've done for them, or look what I'm going to do for you. Well, if you'll just hang in, I can do this for you. It's never about us. It's always what they're willing to do for themselves. And if they'll allow us, we'll continue walking alongside them or just a step ahead of them. That's what I refer to as God. I always have to keep God a step ahead of me or I'm going to mess everything up. So just a step ahead of them while they are reluctant of getting services, and before we know it, they are walking ahead of us because they're feeling more confident and seeing that there is hope for change and getting their families back, or just getting their lives back.
How would you suggest, for those of us who know maybe that we need to make that step, but just are reluctant to pick up the phone and call, how would you suggest we get ourselves past that? What can we do to help, just make that step?
there's a decision that we have to make. It's pretty simple, I guess, but that doesn't mean it's simple in the process of doing it. Mm-hmm. But when we can tell ourselves that, okay, I have a decision to make, I can either stay stuck, as I refer to, in the mud and mire, spinning those wheels all the time, looking back. It's just look back and say, is anything changed? Has anything changed, rather? And apparently not, if they're seeing a need to either call us or the courts are saying you need to be referred for this in order to get clearance through us. So they either have a choice of being stuck in the mud and mire, spinning those wheels constantly, or just moving forward, letting go of the fears that no one can help me. I can do this by myself. It is a fear, I believe. I can do this by myself. That mentality, and I call it a fear because we all want to believe we can take care of everything. We don't need anybody. We don't need anything. And then all of a sudden we hit that bottom. Sometimes it takes rock bottom, and sometimes it takes more than once. But I believe it's just that choice, that what do you want your life to look like? Now, if they have children, I'm always going to say, what do you want your children to be in 5 years? How do you want their lives to be? In order for them to be successful, we're not talking about monetary or financial, successful in their lives, content, and feeling good about themselves, that self-esteem. Are you willing to give that to them? If you're not going to do it for yourself, you're going to lose your children. Or else, if it's not a referral, if it's self-referral, your family's talking about leaving you, or they have left you. So you have a choice to make. You can stay stuck, or, and I'm going to say this, you could choose to go through the emotional surgery, which is gracefully vomiting up. Those are not two words we use together ever, but that was what I ended up realizing that had to be done for myself. Gracefully vomiting up all of the stuff that has kept you stuck in the mud and mire, and you just, you've got to trust something else. Trusting ourselves will get us in a heap of trouble. Only ourselves. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. I hope that makes sense the way I say it to those that's listening. We have to follow our hearts. We have to follow our gut instinct, yes. But when we're in a crisis, it's okay to get help. And so we have a decision to make. No one can make you get help. But what do you really want? And I think most of us really want that to change if we can just let go of that self-assurance that I'm the only one that can do this and I don't need anybody or anything. Yeah. I know that's a mouthful, but it's a process, and it takes a lot of consideration for some people.
Sure. Tajuana, I sure appreciate you coming in this morning. Anything else you want to add to this morning's interview?
Just that they could call anytime they need to. If they want my services, 625-5926. They can go to our website, Living Hope Ministries, KY.com, and they can contact me through that or look over it and see for themselves if it's something that they feel would be helpful.
And where is the facility located?
We are currently located, we're temporarily located. It's the Old West Side School. Most people's going to know it as Old West Side School, now called West Side Condos, in an office space there. We are looking at a location, hopefully, that we'll be moving into within the next month on Main Street in downtown Princeton.
Okay, thank you so much. Our guest today was Tajuana Davis, and if you are in a situation where you're on the edge, do I really want to do this? Just give her a call. Mm-hmm. Give her a call and talk to her. Thank you so much, Tajuana.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, because we do have some guests to talk to us about tonight's 48th annual Optimist Club radio auction. You do not want to miss it. It starts right after the 5 o'clock.